Hello NBA fans and welcome back to another video here on the NBA The Week That Was. Today will be a unique video. You guys have seen some guest analysis videos for the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly series, but today me and my friend Suyash will be analyzing the top 50 players in the NBA, and we've ranked them, and we're going to have some debates, I'm guessing, about who we think is top 50 all the way up to number 1, who's the GOAT. So yeah, Suyash, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Suyash. You might remember me from the Bucks and Thunder episodes of The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. And yeah, I'm honored to be on this show again to debate and express my opinion.
Yeah, so let's get started. Let's start off with our 50th best player of all time. Who do you have, Suyash?
All right, so for the 50th best player, I mean, there's so many great players in NBA history. Even a 50 list is too short. But I was considering many players, like going all the way back to George Mikan, or someone more recent, like Vince Carter, Dominique Wilkins, or even Dwight Howard, in his prime. But I ended up going with Reggie Miller for my 50.
Reggie Miller. I have him on my list, but he's obviously higher. For me, number 50 is Carmelo Anthony. So why did you go with Reggie Miller? I feel there are some players that are definitely worse than him in NBA history on our list.
Yeah, I mean, Reggie Miller, just classic, one of the greatest shooters of all time, clutch. I just felt he had to be on the list, and so I put him.
He has had some great moments, including some great shots against the Knicks, and I went with Melo because of, I don't know, he's been one of the best scorers of this generation, and I feel he deserves to be on this list. Even though he's not had the best accolades ring-wise, he's made all NBA teams, he's made all-star teams. He was the leader of the Nuggets and the Knicks, so yeah, that's why I went with Melo. Yeah, so I think not too much debate there. What about 49?
49, I have, similar to Reggie Miller, I have the next step. I have Ray Allen, one of the best shooters of all time. I would say second best shooter of all time, but it's fine if you say first. Of course, he has his iconic moments with his shot with the Heat. I think he's a great player, and he deserves the 49th spot.
I had Ray Allen for my 49th slot as well.
Excellent.
Let's go. There's one agreement. So far, one agreement, one disagreement. Let's move on to 48. You described Ray Allen perfectly. So who's number 48?
So for 48, I went with one of the best defensive guards in NBA history. For the Seattle Supersonics, I have Gary Payton.
Gary Payton, the glove.
Yeah.
He has some iconic moments as a rookie, trash-talking Michael Jordan, trying to contain him. You can't stop Michael Jordan, but containing him is what Gary Payton did in that finals. But can't stop Jordan, but the glove did his best. I actually don't have him on my list. I mean, I don't think he's been one of the best defensive players of all time. But at 48, I have Wes Unseld. He's arguably the best player in Wizards history. A great big man, great scorer, rebounder. In that generation when he played, the league wasn't as competitive as it was due to the lack of athleticism, which boosts his numbers, obviously, which is why I have him relatively lower on my list, but he definitely deserves to be on here. Let's move on to 47.
Sure. So 47, again, after Gary Payton, I have another great defensive player, a person who was really iconic, especially, and everyone's remembering him now, especially after The Last Dance. I have Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman. That's a bold take. I mean, he's arguably one of the best rebounders in NBA history. But I actually don't have him on my list as well. I feel there are more deserving players moving forward or in our list that really, I mean, have proven more than Rodman. I mean, if you put Rodman in a different situation, I don't think he thrives as he did. I mean, he was good for the Bad Boy Pistons, but
that's what I was gonna say. Especially given someone his size and how many rebounds he got is unbelievable. And there's an argument that some people might say is, or what about the modern NBA? I would say he's basically Draymond Green, but much better at everything. So I would feel.
That's another debate.
Maybe not a better shooter, or maybe not a better offensive player, but definitely on the defensive side, which is where the Warriors utilize Draymond Green the most, as well as his playmaking. He could fit in a Warriors type team.
I definitely see that. For me, I have a quite older player who played with Bill Russell, in fact, Bob Cousy, the point guard of that team. He has the accolades, but again, really the thing that brings down these old players is the lack of competition back then. as they joke, they played against dentists and lawyers. Well, now they're playing against athletic freaks. But Bob Cousy he was a revolutionary player with his handles and his shooting, and he was a great support to Bill Russell en route to, I think he won 6 rings. So that's
for sure. Yeah. One thing you might notice with my list is I don't have that many of the players of that era. For example, I don't have Bob Cousy or Wes Unseld on my list. At the start, I mentioned George Mikan. He's not on my list either because I'm comparing them as pure basketball players, and I would not choose Bob Cousy over Gary Payton in a situation. So that's the reason. I have to agree with
you on that, but for me, greatest is actually, let's take this time to define what we think the greatest is. For me, it's accolades and its success and abilities. There have always been players across the world in any sport who have been great players, but they're never able to translate that into the big stage. That's where I find accolades come in. But yeah, that's what I feel is the greatest. What do you think?
For me, it's less about, since we're talking about the greatest basketball player, the greatest individual, it's less about team success. Of course, team success plays a major role because it's the player who influences the team success. But it's more, for me, I have more individually based accolades or scoring numbers, defensive statistics, everything relating to the player as an individual and how he impacts the team. But obviously with someone like a Bob Cousy for example, I mean, their team had 8 All-Stars in the entire league or something.
It was outrageous.
That's why, you might not see someone like a Bob Cousy in my list. But everyone, I mean, greatness is subjective. So let us know if you have anything you disagree in.
Yes, in the comment section down below, please. Yeah. So let's move on to 46. Who do you have?
46. 46 is actually one of my older players, one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, iconic for his free throw shooting style, Rick Barry.
Same here. I have Rick Barry.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's two similarities right off the bat. But yeah, Rick Barry, known for his free throws, but he also had a great jump shot and has been one of the best players in Warriors history, and was until Stephen Curry came along. Who I'm guessing is on our list moving up. All right, let's move on to 45.
45, I have the truth. I have Paul Pierce, iconic in the 2008, and that period he was just fantastic, great scorer. He has made some outlandish claims that he's better than Dwayne Wade. You'll see that is incorrect by when I've placed Dwayne Wade and when I've placed Paul Pierce, but his playing time was much better than his analyst period, so I have him.
Definitely. For 45, I actually have Reggie Miller, and Paul Pierce is actually coming up later in my list, which means he's a bit higher. But yeah, Reggie Miller is at 45 for me. I really believed his shooting revolutionary.
Yeah.
So 44.
44 is an interesting one. I have a player who later, when he ends his career, I think he might be much higher. And I think as an individual basketball player, there's not many on this list that I would take over him to score the basketball. It's just someone who I felt it's too early in his career to put him higher. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah. So Giannis, I'm just going to say I have Giannis way higher than you do.
Yeah, so. I completely agree with that because as an individual, he's so amazing. But I feel with his current accolades and his current point in his career, I wouldn't put him over some players, even though I would take him over most of these players to score the basketball or to play a basketball game.
I definitely agree with you, but you'll find out later why I have Giannis so high up. But for me, at 44, I have the guy who's first known for his dunks, but now known for his longevity, Vince Carter. I mean, there have definitely been better players in history and better players I've left off this list. But given the impact he's had on this game, like being the most tenured player, playing in 4 decades, I feel he deserved a spot just for the mark he's made in NBA history, proving that your game can, if you adapt. He used to be a great starter, was a big part of the Nets teams that made the finals with Jason Kidd, was flashy in Toronto with Tracy McGrady, but then he developed into a second unit guy who played with young teams and really wanted to develop them. So because of his impact on the game, I have Vince Carter at 44.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic pick. Do you want to start this time with 43?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I actually went with relatively old player. He sometimes gets forgotten with the dominance of the Celtics team, but it was Kevin McHale. Who played with Larry Bird and Robert Parrish. I mean, he had a great impact. I don't think Larry would be successful without Kevin McHale, a great power forward, able to score the ball with a great mid-range shot, but also a great post game. Definitely deserving to be on this list.
I completely agree. That's why I have him a bit higher. Okay. But of course, who I have next is, so the NBA for a long time was dominated by centers, and I have my first center on this list. I have Patrick Ewing. Okay. So I think his dominance deserves him a spot here.
I mean, I have Patrick Ewing actually higher, but something that could have definitely boosted his legacy is a ring. But that's what you get when you're playing the same way as Michael Jordan. Rings are tough to go. Michael Jordan, then Hakeem Olajuwon. Man never caught a break, so tough goings. I'll continue on now with the second best player in Knicks history, Walt Frazier.
I also have Walt Frazier at 42.
Yeah, I mean, a great point guard. One of the best players in Knicks history, as we said, has some great accolades, all NBA teams. And again, I mean, he's just a great point guard. Look, there's nothing else to say, I feel. I'll continue on. At 41, I have the truth, Paul Pierce. I find that ring that they won, the Boston Celtics, really good. And I feel he's one of the best players in Celtics history, which is a big statement given the fact that they have so many great players, Larry Bird, Bill Russell. But he's just a great scorer. He did it in such a smooth yet effective way. Despite his outlandish claims after his retirement, he's still a really good player.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. At 41, I have one of his later teammates. I have Jason Kidd. Okay. So I think he was a great point guard. He does anything that all good point guards do. So
I actually have Jason Kidd high up my list. I'll explain why later. I'll continue. I'll do the next four or five, and then you'll start again. But I went with pick number 40. So I'm a Hawks fan, as you guys know. So it's the guy that led us to a Hawks ring, the only ring we have, not even the Atlanta Hawks, the St. Louis Hawks. Bob Pettit, again, one of the older players in this list, played in the 50s, but again, he had great impact. He was one of the first ever dominant big men as in the 50s. I mean, the NBA hadn't been too on there, but still, a great scorer from the mid-range. I mean, there only was the mid-range back then, but also a great post scorer and a great rebounder, and really was meaningful for the Hawks franchise as an icon, which is some bias, but I had to put him on the list.
Oh, for sure. I think Bob Pettit definitely deserves to be here. I think he's the greatest Hawks player in history. That's why I have him actually higher on this list. But at 40, I have a player who I think talent-wise and physically wise in his prime was one of the best players in NBA history, and I don't think he even reached his prime because of injuries. It's a player that many would take off this list because of his injuries. So I have Tracy McGrady at number 40.
Spoiler, I have him at 39.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Great transition.
Tracy McGrady, man, you said it. People, in his prime, on his night, we've seen it, those 13 points in 38 seconds.
I know.
He's just a microwave, honestly. Just a beautiful shot for him, and the athleticism with the dunking. It was great to watch him play. It was an unfortunate end to his career with the injuries.
Yeah. Even Kobe Bryant said the person he had the most trouble facing in his career was Tracy McGrady.
Yeah, people disregard his defense.
Yeah.
Great defender. Wing defender. Who do you have at 39?
At 39, I have one of the older players, Elvin Hayes.
Okay.
Just because you can't deny him putting in the all-time greats, so I put him. I
think he's one of the best players in Wizards history, given post-scoring and rebounding. Like all big men in the past, their forte is post-scoring and rebounding. But at 38 is your favorite player, Mr. Russell Westbrook. I mean, it's quite. I think you say it'll be quite low for you, but there are players above who I feel are more deserving of a higher spot. But he really revolutionized the game in the all-around sense that even the guy who's only 6'3" can do so much. Yeah. Honestly, as we watched him in that year where he averaged a triple-double the first time, he just made a triple-double normal for us. And I'll let you go into him later when he's at your...
I'll go into him because I have him higher. I tried to keep bias out of it, but I have a solid explanation why I think he's higher. Because there's a group of players that I have him with, which I feel he's with. So at 38, I have another one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. I have George Gervin.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. The Iceman, I think they call him. He was one of the, again, I mean, the Spurs have had great players, but after like Timmy D, maybe Manu Ginobili, George Gervin definitely up there. The old Spurs were defined by Gervin. I'll go with 37, who I believe is the best Hawks player in history, Dominique Wilkins. I mean, I feel he's deserving on this list, again, for the impact he had. He's arguably one of the best dunkers in NBA history. And that dunk contest against Jordan is always etched into our memories as one of the most iconic dunk contests of all time. And even though we couldn't get a ring, again, it was the Jordan effect. So many great players weren't able to get a ring because of Michael Jordan during that time, as well as Hakeem Olajuwon and the Bad Boy Pistons. That's what Dominique Wilkins' career was. But again, a great, not only a dunker, but just a great scorer. He's challenged Jordan, he's challenged Bird, he's challenged Magic, he's challenged the greats, and definitely deserving on this list.
For sure. At 37, I have who I think is the greatest Hawk of all time. I have Bob Pettit. I just think the ring is really what defines.
Okay. Yeah. So why don't you continue from 36?
Yeah, 36, I have one of the players you mentioned earlier. I have Kevin McHale. Okay. I felt without him, the Celtics that era wouldn't be able to compete with the Lakers of that era in one of the greatest rivalries of all time. So, yeah, I have him.
I actually have a current player at 36. I have Chris Paul. I think he's always been underrated. Again, he's one of those players who just didn't get a ring. But I feel it's just the situation he was put in. He's never had the caliber of player a guy like Chris Paul needs. I mean, his best skill on the basketball court is his playmaking. And while Blake Griffin had the potential, injuries held him back. And again, he was then put into a situation with Harden. But then again, like the Jordan effect, he had the Warriors to go up against. And arguably, I feel if he didn't tear his hamstring in that Game 6 or in Game 5, the Rockets would have gone on to win that championship. So yeah, that's who I have at 36. One of the best players.
Yeah, I think he's one of the most underrated. That's why I have him slightly higher as well. Because I'll explain later. At 35, I also have a great playmaking point guard.
36.
At 36, sorry. Right. That was my Kevin McHale. So moving on to 35, I do have a great playmaking point guard, the logo himself, Jerry West.
I see. I actually have West quite higher. So
quite high.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's again one of the best players. I'll go into it later. So so you have him at 35. At 35, I have a relatively older player. You actually mentioned the start, George Mikan. I think he's one of the most influential big men. He inspired a generation of big men after him. The Mikan drill is a drill I do when I warm up for shooting. So, I mean, he has a great... Again, I have to keep on emphasizing the fact big men in the past are known for their post scoring and their rebounding, and it was the same with Mikan. Again, I think his glasses were the thing that made him iconic, but again, one of the great players in NBA history. 34.
34, the person I have at 34 was a tough one for me because it's one of the older players who has great accolades because he played in that era, but he was defining for me because I wouldn't take him over Giannis or players below that, but I can't knock off his greatness for playing back then. So I have John Havlicek. Okay. So yeah, I don't even have him on my list, so that's interesting. Yeah. So Havlicek, because of the accolades, is why he's up there. Exactly. I felt he was more influential to those teams than Kuzi, but so.
Okay. I see what you mean. I don't know. I just found Bob Cousy because he was one of the first generation finding point guards. Is why I have him on my list. But at 34, I have another current player, and I think you have him higher on your list as well. I'm guessing, but it's James Harden. I think you definitely have him higher on your list, but and not bias reason, just in general. But I'll explain a bit why I have Harden. I mean, he has been one of the best scorers for this decade. We can argue that after Kevin Durant, arguably Steph Curry, James Harden is definitely up there. The step back three is one of the biggest revolutions in basketball. How effective he's made it. His general knowledge about free throws. I mean, people slander him for his free throws. I believe it's genius, the fact that he can influence the game in that way. And I just think what holds him back is, I mean, he has an MVP as well. But again, the rings is something that I feel. And his lack of playoff success, that thing, playoff fatigue, is what really brings me back. I think you have him higher on your list?
I do. He's again in that group of players.
Okay,
but,
so we'll go into that.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But for 33, I have one of the Laker greats, Elgin Baylor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're one of the best all-around players of all time. And he has some big-time performances, so yeah.
He's one of the more influential players. I think he's the one who influenced this generation of big passing wings and all that.
Yeah, like LeBron James has many similarities with Elgin Baylor. Yeah. At 33, I have the star of the bad boy Pistons, Isaiah Thomas. Again, because of his bad relationship with Jordan, as we saw in The Last Dance, but also just in general of not playing in a better era for him. Isaiah Thomas is underrated, but one of the best scorers from the point guard position and a great playmaker. And his mentality, dude, was trash talking and stuff. That's a big part of who Isaiah Thomas was.
Yeah, I think he's knocked off because of his relationship with Jordan, and everybody loves Jordan, right? So I actually have him a bit higher, but we'll get to that. At 32, I have a first of a string of point guards. Okay. I have Steve Nash.
Oh, okay. I have him a bit higher, but
yeah.
Steve Nash.
My group of players that could be interchangeable starts about now. Okay. It starts with Steve Nash. Who do you have at 32?
Do you want to actually first explain a bit about Steve? I have him higher on my list, but you want to give a few.
Steve Nash, one of the greatest playmakers, MVP. Just a 7-second offense, just iconic.
Iconic. He's definitely a revolutionary. My favorite player is influenced by him. Back there, you can see Trae Young. His biggest influence is Steve Nash. So I have to give it to him. I'll go into him later. At 32, I have Patrick Ewing. Again, I mean, despite the lack of rings, the All-Star appearances, the All-NBA appearances, if it weren't for Jordan, I think Ewing would have at least 2 rings. We should have a decent team around him. With John Starks and stuff. I'll go from 31, or do you want to continue?
Sure.
Okay. At 31, I have a player you mentioned, Jason Kidd. I think he was one of the first point guards after Magic Johnson to really be an all-around type of player. I mean, coming into the league, he had a great three-point shot. He was also a great playmaker, and his defense was underrated. But I think rebounding, he was one of the first point guards who really was a solid rebounder. Led the Nets to 2 finals, got a ring finally in the later years of his career with the Dallas Mavericks. So, yeah, I have Jason Kidd. You have 31. Sorry, my bad.
31, I have one of the most iconic and influential players of all time. I have Allen Iverson. Just his amazing vibe that he brings to the game, his iconic moments, the step back. I mean, it's influential to a whole generation of NBA players and just basketball players in general.
I feel he just lacked a better team around. I'll go into him later, but yeah, again, Allen Iverson, one of my favorite players of all time. I definitely want to get an Iverson jersey later on. It's just not only a sick jersey, but just a sick player. At 30, I have a player you had quite below was Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, the impact he's had on this game has been revolutionary, not on the court, but off the court, in the sense being the first European All-Star captain, being MVP at a young age, and just his dominance, physical abilities. And this past season, he had one of the most historically efficient seasons of all time. He averaged 30 points, the 13 rebounds, and 6 assists in only 31 minutes, and is a DPOY and MVP candidate. I mean, despite lack of ring, I feel he could have gotten a ring last year, but Giannis Antetokounmpo is gonna rise up this list like this as soon as he gets a ring. So yeah.
I mean, when he gets a ring, and even at the end of the career, I think he was a top 15 NBA.
Hall of Fame guaranteed for sure.
Guaranteed for Hall of Fame. But at 30, I have one of the players you mentioned earlier. I have James Harden, who I think is one of the greatest scorers in all time, not just this last decade. Of course, many people knock him for going through the free throw a lot, and as you were saying, I'm like, if you can go and get easy points, why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Right? And he's just amazing, and it really saddens me that we had all three of them at one point, but it's fine.
As you guys remember, Suyash is a Thunder fan, so he has some tough memories, but hopefully a ring's coming. But at 29, I have a player you mentioned, Steve Nash. I mean, I personally feel he didn't deserve those MVPs, but he won them, so we have to.
I agree.
Yeah, but Steve Nash, man, is arguably one of the best playmakers of all time, one of the most flashy players of all time. Some of his behind-the-back passes. He landed in the perfect situation with Mike D'Antoni and the 7 seconds offense with Amari Stoudemire. It was just watching him play with his long hair, and it was a great team. And Steve Nash is a great playmaker and a great three-point shot as well. People choose to forget that.
For sure. At 29, I have Chris Paul, who I think has silenced all his doubters this season. At 35, the impact that he's had on a team, like bringing the Thunder, what were we projected? 9 seed, 10 seed. Sure, now we've slipped down because of the last game, but I mean, still fantastic. We're in actually good position to go maybe to the second round of the playoffs, which is not something anyone was expecting. And one of the greatest playmakers in NBA history, of course. As you were saying, the limitations because of his teammates. Thing if that Kobe Bryant trade was, not him pairing with Kobe Bryant, if that wasn't put out by Adam Silver or whoever the commissioner was, but David Stern, and he would have definitely got a ring and maybe even higher.
I agree. That ring would boost them up in our list. At 28, I have Allen Iverson. I mean, I just because of his influence in the game, the ring is lack of ring is what brings him down. If he had a ring, arguably top 15 of all time in my opinion, with his ability to score. I mean, dude, he was 6'1". Yeah, he's still one of the best scorers in NBA history. So, yeah, I have him at 28.
Yeah. At 28, I have a player I want to take some time to talk about. It's my favorite player of all time. I have Russell Westbrook. I tried to take as much bias as I could out of this list, but honestly, I feel he's one of the most over-hated players in NBA history because the numbers that he's putting up, I mean, it's unnatural. And that's why people get on him like, oh, you're just doing everything. Oh, you're stat padding. I mean, I don't think many other players, even if they tried their hardest, could average what he's averaging. One of the all-time greats that I have higher in this list is Oscar Robertson, right? And I couldn't justify putting Russell Westbrook that much lower than Oscar Robertson as like a 20 standing differential, because Russell Westbrook is doing everything that Oscar Robertson is doing, but in a more competitive league. Oscar Robertson, of course, averaged it for longer, but it was obviously also a less competitive league back then. Russell Westbrook being able to do what he does, I mean, no other point guard is averaging that many rebounds. People say he's not selfish, or he has the assists to show off. And then points per game, just a great scorer. I mean, going to the rim is just not many players who are as amazing at the rim as Russell Westbrook. So I have him up here.
I see why you have him up here, and like I said, he's normalized the triple-double, which is what I mean, dude, he averaged a triple-double for 2 years in a row. Exactly. So, I mean, it's just normal in our minds. Like, I can't deny the fact that I just don't find a triple-double as impressive as I did before Russell Westbrook. Before that, it was so rare, but now every other day you get a triple-double.
Yeah. And I have one opinion that says that if LeBron James, instead of Russell Westbrook, was averaging a triple-double season, he'd be undoubtedly the GOAT. Right, but since it's Russell Westbrook, he's stat padding. But of course, that is a topic that you could go deeper about. Instead, let's just move on. Do you want to go with your 27?
Yeah, I'll go, and then you do 26. So at 27, I have one of the best players in Spurs history, David Robinson, the Admiral. Yeah. I mean, I think the most defining factor of him is his biceps. I mean, if David Robinson's bullying me in the post, I'm just slipping away. But all jokes aside, he's so dominant in the paint. And with Tim Duncan, that was a great ring that they won. His ability to rebound, just bully everyone was definitely would put him this high on my list?
I think that duo of him and Tim Duncan is one of the best big man duos in NBA history. I have him a little higher, and of course I have Tim Duncan a lot higher. At number 27, I have a player who challenged Michael Jordan and gave Michael Jordan one of his greatest moments. I have Clyde Drexler, who was one of the greatest scorers and honestly one of the only ones to actually try to step up to Jordan. So I have he has my respect.
I actually don't have him on my list.
Wow.
I don't think he has the accolades. I mean, I don't think he's even the best player in the Blazers' history anymore with Damian Lillard. I mean,
Lillard?
I think Damian Lillard's better. That's just my take on the situation.
Okay, sure.
You want to go ahead with 26?
Yeah, 26. I have Charles Barkley.
Okay. I have him 25. But,
yeah. So he's one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, his dominance. His build was so unathletic, yet he still was able to do so well in the basketball court. It was really interesting to watch when I look at highlights from the past. Yeah. And again, I feel he had won an MVP. Again, playing in the wrong era prevented him from a ring, but. Again, I agree with you with Barkley. Barkley's definitely up there. For me at 26, I have Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade?
Yeah. Sorry. I believe that there are 25 players better than Dwayne Wade. But because the 2006 ring was definitely because of him. In his only third year, that was a big time win against the Mavericks. And he's arguably one of the best shooting guards of all time. However, those two rings with LeBron, I feel, without Dwayne Wade, they're not winning those rings. But without LeBron, they're not winning those rings. So you look at that, and Dwayne Wade, one of the best two-way players of all time. Best shot blocker from the shooting guard position.
Definitely. I think if not for that 2006 ring, I would have him lower. But because of that ring, I feel he's proved himself enough for me to put him higher in this list. Okay. That's why I'll show you where he comes.
And with that, we wrap up the first part of this greatest of all time rankings episode with Suyash here on the NBA the week that was. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. You'll see the next part in a few days. If you have any takes, if you agree with us, disagree with us, please let us in the comment section down below. We'll be really happy to just talk to you guys and see what you guys think about what we feel are the best players in the NBA. So I'll see you guys on the next episode of the GOAT Rankings video series here on the NBA the week that was. See ya.